Touchdown Tampa Bay, you're listening to the Pewtercast.
Welcome to the Pewtercast. I am Brent Allen, your host. This is our final thoughts episode for the Bucs versus Saints, and we'll see exactly how final thoughts we get into it. I'm not here by myself, though. My good friend Ren, carrying the show Daxed, is with us. Ren, welcome back to the Pewtercast, buddy.
My back is killing me.
It's all the heavy lifting, huh?
Hey, did you see Antonio Brown's tweet today?
No, I did
about
not.
how. Okay, listen. Yeah. So and I'm paraphrasing. He does something like, "The Patriots are a great organization. Sorry for all the negative publicity in the media and the drama. Thank you for the opportunity. Much love." And then the picture was him and Tom Brady hugging. After he scored his lone touchdown, which pretty good because he only played one game with the Patriots. And I just, in my head, I just felt like doing the GIF, that John Travolta GIF where he's kind of stand in one place and spin around from Pulp Fiction.
Oh yeah.
Where it looks like he's all alone.
Yeah.
I felt like, saying this is how Mike Mayock feels right now, because Mike Mayock is the GM of the Raiders, and Antonio Brown called him racial slurs and wanted to pick a fight with him and threw his helmet at him.
Right.
So I'm sure Mike Mayock's kind of standing there hey, what about me there, Antonio Brown? Mm-hmm. Anyway, I think this week we feel like Mike Mayock and the John Travolta GIF. Mm-hmm. As here we are, Tuesday night, ready to do the show, and we're looking around, and no one's here.
Yeah, because this is typically the show where we would have a guest, and we don't this week. So we'll explain that, but it's just you and I, Ren, holding it down. And honestly, if there's a week to maybe not have a guest, maybe this is it in a weird way.
Brent's not feeling it today.
Yeah, I'll get there. I'll come back eventually. I promise you I will. I'll get back into it. You know what I am? Yeah, I am Maverick from the movie Top Gun, where Goose has just died. And the only thing that'll fix him is the commander saying, just keep putting him back up there. Just he's not engaging, but just keep sending him up. And it'll, I've got the little dog tags. I'm going, whisper to me, Goose. Whisper to me, Bucs. Come on, dude. Come on, give me something here. That's where I am right now. I think that's kind of, I've gotten there's been the funeral, I've had the death, and now I'm in that stage of grieving, I guess.
Are you old enough to have seen Top Gun in the movie theaters?
I am old enough to have done it, but I didn't, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah, you were a lot. Yeah, okay. Right. Yes. You didn't see it in the theaters.
I did not see it in the theater, but I am old enough to have. Yes.
Right. It's been a while since you've seen Top Gun, though, because they kept sending them up, but that didn't work. And it wasn't whisper to me, Goose. It was talk to me.
Talk to me, right? Okay, fine. The analogy breaks down. You're right. It's been a while, but that's kind of where I am. So anyway, Ren, it's just you and I. It's just you and I.
You're kind of like the Top Gun Turkish knockoff version.
I'm the street DVD that's getting sold in South Korea. That's where it is.
Okay.
But hey, listen. So it's just you and I. But we kind of get into it. And actually, Ren, I like where the conversation ended up because we already had that conversation. Like we usually record the interview first. We've already recorded that conversation. I like where the conversation ended up. And so I want to encourage you guys, if it seems tough at the beginning, stick through it.
If Brent seems sad.
Yeah, stick through it. But Ren, I do commend you. You really do, kind of carry it. But that being said, we also have lots of emails and stuff. We're going to get to that in the next show as well. So you guys make sure you stick around. But for right now, let's get into our conversation. Kind of truly a final thoughts episode on this game. And that's what's coming up to you guys this week on the Pewtercast.
I used to
Well, all right, Ren, this is our final thoughts episode on the Bucs versus Saints game. This is typically the spot of the show where we would have an interview. We would have a guest. We'd have somebody brought on. But this week, Red, it's just you and I. And it's probably okay.
We got Bill Parcells.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Yeah.
We got left at the altar twice at the 11th hour.
Right. So, but I mean I don't know. It's okay because like I don't know about you, but like I am in absolutely no place different now than where I was on Sunday.
Right. I feel a little better.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not like quite so mad about everything.
Uh-huh.
I've come to what I don't understand. Here's what I don't understand. I still keep hearing this stuff is like why Jamel Dean wasn't out there,
Mm-hmm.
or Jamel Dean wasn't out there, and everyone's just like, it's inexcusable, like what a terrible job by the coaches.
Right.
And to me, it seems we sort of touched on it. I think it was with Ox when Ox called in the Instacast, was that he was forced into action in the Seattle game, right?
Right.
And we played almost strictly man-to-man.
Right.
And after the game, they're like, why did you strictly go man-to-man? And he's like, well, right now, the communication's not good enough to play corner, to play zone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what changed from us playing completely, exclusively just about zone against New Orleans? What's the difference in the secondary? Davis was back.
Yeah.
So that means Dean sits.
Right.
So they can play zone.
Right.
So what's telling me is the breakdown in the communication in their zone coverages is Jamel Dean.
Yeah. Now would it be? Go ahead.
Well, now the argument starts is why? Like, why are we in week 10
and
Jamel Dean still doesn't know how to communicate or understand what's being told to him and then, figure it out in his head and know what to do in a zone coverage? That's the new question. But as far as like why it wasn't on there, I think it's pretty obvious, or out there, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It wasn't really much of a question to me of SMB and our starting cornerbacks are Carlton Davis and SMB. It's not Jamel Dean. I don't care if Jamel Dean was the highest graded PFF cornerback in the league. I mean, those numbers can be skewed. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, he played like a quarter.
Yeah. So it's not. You got to take that with a grain of salt. Like it's a fun little stat, but you really got to take it with a grain of salt. No, our starting cornerback came back in. He's the guy who's going to go in. I'm still questioning, like, because I really thought that we would see something like we're going to start Sean Murphy-Bunting and Carlton Davis, and then when we move to a nickel package, maybe SMB moves up to the nickel, and that's when we'd see Jamel Dean slide in or something like that. Like that's kind of where I figured.
Yeah, and somebody told, like, I kind of posed that question at the beginning, maybe an hour or so before the game, and I don't know if it was in a DM because I'm in a couple chat groups or it was on Twitter, but someone said they heard BA on the pregame show, and that's basically what he said. He's like, they're going to use him. They're going to use SMB like Rondé,
right?
Start from the outside, move him inside on nickel. And I'm like, okay. And then we get out there, and they're lined up in nickel in the first play, and it's Mike Edwards,
right? And
then, I mean, I don't remember Mike Edwards playing a lot of nickel in training camp, but it's been so long. But that was something I figured I would. I mean, I definitely would have talked about it because that would have been something like, hey, everybody, not only is Mike Edwards the guy who, it sounds like the Bucs are counting on to hold down the safety position until Justin Evans comes back, is also getting work at nickel. But I don't remember seeing it. I don't remember saying it.
Right. Bruce
Arians has come out this week and said, well, that's what he's done his whole career. I'm like, okay, his whole career as in like what the couple of years you saw of him at Kentucky. Because I highly doubt you went back to his high school tape and before that, so his whole college career. But I don't know. It's like so what it does. It raises two questions. It's either Mike Edwards is being misused or was misdrafted as a safety, or Jamel Dean can't play zone at all. Which is like both of these are questions that are like, well, that's not good,
Yeah.
Which starts to raise questions about the draft, talent evaluation, the coaching staff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, Jamel Dean played 3 snaps before getting pressed into service a couple weeks ago, right? So Mike Edwards has been the guy practicing in there in that number 1 spot, and apparently there was something with Jamel Dean when he came out,
safety.
like. yes, it's safety. But when they're in practice, I mean, we saw them doing this with Justin Evans and other people. Like, in practice, they move people around and try them at different spots. So I could believe, or I could imagine, that in practice over the course of the year, they might have even practiced more this idea of Mike Edwards coming into that nickel slot, and this isn't a new thing. Now, I don't know. I'm not there, like, and nobody is except for the players and the coaches, really, right? So, who knows? I'm guessing. I'm just trying to come up with a reason as to why they might have felt better going with Mike Edwards as opposed to bringing him in Jamel Dean and moving up Sean Murphy-Bunting, because that's what I would have thought they would have done. But, I mean, the other side, too, is apparently, like, Jamel Dean got pressed into service, didn't do really well, and then he went into the week of practice and, like, for the first time in his life, I guess, practiced like he was going to be starting because he knew he was going to be. And he came out and had a decent week. Like, he didn't light the world on fire, but
Yeah,
he did. He had a very good game. He had a good game. Yeah, but I mean, he didn't lock down everybody around him and shut down.
He didn't give up any catches except for one that he came up and made a negative 2-yard tackle.
Oh, did he really? Okay.
Yeah. Well, he had like 4 pass defenses, a pick, and the only pass that was caught against him was for negative 2 yards.
Okay, fair enough. But it was against who?
The Cardinals in a quarter of play.
Because he only played for a quarter in the Cardinals game?
He didn't come in until they benched Vernon.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't tracked him enough because, honestly, I didn't think I would have to track. I thought I'd have more of a sample size, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? Like, it's weird. But I don't know. I mean, yeah, we could talk about all that. I got to be honest, I just don't care right now. Like, this whole week has been... like, everybody seems to be turning their attention to Jason Light and talent evaluation. And you just mentioned it a second ago, talent evaluation and Jason Light and this. And, I'm getting to the spot where I'm going, people are looking for anything as to where they can pin blame. Like, okay, well, what's the common denominator? Or what's this? Or back it up over here, or it's got to be this, or it's got to be the owners, or it's got to be this, it's got to be this, guys. There's more. There's so many problems with this whole thing. It's not one thing, and it's not one guy, and it's not, I don't know. I don't care.
No, I hear you. It started out, it started the season, well, it was Jameis's fault. Then it was the O-line's fault. Then it quickly became the defensive fault. Then it became the secondary's fault, and then for a little while, for like a game, it was White's fault.
Right.
It's been Sue's fault a little bit of lately too. Then it was the offensive line. Then it was the tight ends. Now it's just O.J. Howard. Then it was Rojo's not starting. Now Rojo's not getting the ball.
Right.
So what's left? Well, now we're pointing at, now it seems like the story this week is this was harder than BA thought it was going to be. Is he actually all in? Mm-hmm. And then with, the cutting of Spence at training camp, MJ Stewart getting benched, healthy scratched, and now releasing him, VH3. It's like, well, BA's not coaching hard enough. He's just sort of coasting, delegating, all these things. And if he's the best football mind, he should be doing more, such as calling plays, or he said that thing after this past game was, I'd like to see Jamel Dean out there more. Well, I mean, you practiced for a week. I mean, did you not see him out there, or did you not check off on the plan? Like, hey, Todd, I know it's your defense. What do you plan to do? Well, I'm going to run zone. Okay, I got you. Does that mean Dean's not going to be out there? I mean, it's not like he didn't see him out there halfway through the game.
Right.
If he really wanted to see him out there, he could have went to Todd Bowles. He could have said, I know your plan's to run zone, play. And honestly, the plan worked. It really did. The offense kind of screwed the defense this week. They did. Even though the defense couldn't get off the field, it was a good plan for slowing down the Saints. But the problem is they were like, they get 2 yards, and then they get 4 yards, and they get 7 yards. And they get 7 yards, they get 1 yard, and they get 4 yards. And they just, slowly march down the field. Every 3 plays, they're getting about 15 yards, but never over 10 a chunk.
Right.
Divided that up any way you want to, and they just did it all day long. I mean, that last punt, they only punted twice. They punted 3 times, but they only punted really twice because that last one, they're up by 10. I mean, if they were losing, by 1, 2, 3 points, or if they were winning by 3 or less, they would have kicked a field goal. They would have attempted it.
Right.
But it was like, we're up 10. There's like 5 minutes left to go in the game. let's just because they totally once they got up to 20-0 and came out the first half, they got that next touchdown and they took their foot off the gas.
Yeah,
they just started eating the clock, running the ball, short passes. So, but the offense put them in that bad situation early with that pick down there. But then the defense's fault they couldn't get off the field. I mean, the Bucs had the ball 5 plays the first quarter.
Yep.
So. But at any point, BA could have looked at Bowles and said, "Hey, I understand your plan. I want Dean out there." And he goes, "Well, you can't play zone." Then he goes, "Well, then don't play zone."
Right.
It's either you knew it was happening and you knew he wasn't going to play, or sometime during the game you noticed he wasn't in there.
Right. But see, even with that though, wasn't there something about how in the first game this year they played man like the whole game and got toasted? So,
yeah.
All right,
But
so
that
let's
was
switch it up and play zone this year.
But that was Bridgewater.
I understand.
But it's no. I'm not saying like Bridgewater's better than Breeze. But the problem is when you play man, it's easier to get burned deep. But the problem with that is, I mean, Drew Brees only threw the ball deep, and it wasn't really deep. He threw it across the field like twice. He was on the far hash, and he threw like an 11-yard out, and he threw them on back-to-back plays, and it was like 3rd and 17. One of the 2 times the Bucs made him actually punt. And one, he sailed it, and the other one almost got picked off by SMB. Why? Because everybody knows it. No one's talking about it. I'm sure they're talking about North. Brees can't push the ball down the field anymore. He can't do it.
Yeah.
He tried to go from far hash to 11-yard, 12-yard out on the sideline, and both of them got there super late.
Yeah.
One was late and high, and then the first row, and the second one was late enough where SMB had enough time to come back and almost picked it off. The receiver really played the defender on that one. So, I get it. It's like we're gonna play soft zone, keep everything in front of us, and make them march down the field. The problem is that's exactly what they did. They didn't shoot themselves in the foot, and the 2 times they did, when they got in 3rd down and long, over 10, they didn't convert.
Right.
We almost it was 3rd and 17 3 times. One time we jumped off sides twice, stopped them still, and they kick a field goal. And the other 2 times was the times at punt. They had to punt. So when they shot themselves in the foot, it worked. But the Saints are too good of a team; they're not doing it. And Kamara, man, I mean, he didn't go off, but Jesus, the first guy never gets that guy.
Yeah. Now I do want to talk about this. And this is not so much Kamara as much as this run defense that we had. This great run defense, this best run defense in the league or whatever. I think if you look and you just purely go off the number of yards, of rushing yards that the other team gets, or that their key back gets, it was abysmal the first couple of games, 0, right? Or maybe 10 or 15. But if you look over the last couple of games, and I haven't looked with the Kamara, but they're slowly starting to creep up. You know what I mean? This run defense isn't as stout 10 games, 11 games into the season as it was at the beginning of the season. I don't know if that's because other teams are figuring it out. I don't know if it's because our guys aren't performing as well. I don't know if that's because whatever changes they're trying to make with the secondary or something like that. I don't know. I don't know if that's because of injury. We're missing Nassib, and I don't know how much Anthony Nelson really plays a factor in that, but it is something that has become concerning for me. Because if there's something on the defense we could hang our hat on this year, it was the run defense, and
you still can. I mean, Kamara got 65, 75 yards,
right.
But then he got 11 receptions for another 65, 75 yards.
That guy's so good. So he is so good.
And no one ever brings it. You can't bring him down. He's dead to rights, and then you miss him, and now he's picked up 2 yards, and you tackle him, he falls forward, and it's 2nd and 4. And you're like, what the hell happened? We had him for no gain. And it happens every time he touches the ball. And you're just like, God, I hate that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
can we get him on our team?
But I mean, I'm still okay with the run defense. They only gave up 75 yards. I think the only time we gave up 100 yards this week combined, but the only time before that was at Seattle. And they're a heavily running team. So you're right. I think it sort of started with the Tennessee when Derrick Henry broke one. He broke 2, but one got called back, but broke one. That was sort of ooh, look, we gave up 89 yards in rushing, but one of it was 68
60 yards. Yeah.
And but also Kamara averaged 5.8 yards a carry. It wasn't he carried the ball 23 times for 85 yards and earned every blade of grass, because he didn't. He got positive yards and kept the offense in front of the chains every time he touched the ball. And what, also upsets fans, me, you included, is that, their all-pro guard was gone, and it didn't seem to matter. They still, they didn't run it down our throats, but when they wanted to run, it was successful.
Yeah. Yep.
Brett doesn't want a podcast anymore.
Ever again about anything. No, that's not true. It just, it's Ren. It just, like, I everything that I had to say, everything that I wanted to say, to be quite honest, I got it out at the Instant Cast.
Right.
And I haven't changed one iota from where we left off on the Instant Cast. I just haven't. You know what I mean? So like I feel like I've gotten everything out there, and everything at this point is kind of rehashing, and like, and we kind of talked about before the show, like, this is going to be interesting because I'm not sure what we're going to do. Typically, this is where that conversation, the interview with somebody goes. But even with that, I wasn't really sure, what are we going to add this week? Like, there's nothing to add this week,
If you were the GM, would you sign Jameis right now?
If you were the GM, would you fire yourself? Okay. I don't care. Like, it's the thing that everybody's talking about on social media is fire has really turned this week on Jason Light, especially from the fan base.
This was the game, and it's sort of surprising because, you were there, but it was sort of surprising because, the Bucs didn't really play a great game against the Cardinals, but since we won, it wasn't that bad.
Right.
But then we played the Saints, and it was another clunky game. Something we've used that adjective a lot, especially early on. But when it comes down to it, we got jobbed terribly.
Sure,
would have had a first down in their territory, down by 10, and like 7 minutes to go.
Right,
and we were moving the ball because we started like our down by our own 8 or 10 yard line. It's not like we started there. It was the best drive we had, kind of. I think we got 3 first downs on penalties. We were lucky to this, and I said this in the Inscast, this was a game, the reason that it felt so bad was that it looks like the offense, this was the worst offensive overall performance. You can go to the San Francisco game and the 2 pick sixes, and you can go to the London game and the 9 turnovers, but we still moved the ball, still scored. On this one, the reason we moved the ball because we were being gifted these first downs,
Right.
It was just, the running game was gone. And I like to talk about that too. People are like, it's a crime that you only run the ball 8 times. Well, they only ran 5 plays, and now it's the second quarter.
Right. And we're down by 13.
Yeah,
or whatever.
And you run the ball. Yeah. You probably run the ball maybe once in that drive, where you finally got you didn't get a score, but you had to punt. Then you get the ball back. Well, you're not going to, run it there because you got to get it down inside, the field goal area before the half runs out. Now you come out and you have the ball, but it's 7-20. They ran the ball a couple times there, probably is where they did. They kicked the field goal, and then the Saints go down, and I don't think they scored right. I think they had to punt there, but then we punted, and then they punted, and then next time they got the ball, they scored again.
Right.
So now it's 27-10.
Yeah.
And you're not getting the ball back quick enough. The reason that they weren't running was because when they punt the ball, they wouldn't see the ball for like another 8-9 minutes in game clock time.
Right.
So, it's like, okay, well, we have to, score 3 times. And if you average that out, we're only going to get the ball twice. So we need to shorten the game or lengthen the game or lengthen the clock, and that's why they had to pass.
Yeah. So let me just repeat what I'm kind of hearing back to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying, because I think I wholeheartedly agree with you. And if I do, the other side of it is if other people don't get it, I don't know how to help them with this because it's so flippin' obvious. Here's the deal. We were down. And we were down by a lot, and we didn't have time to run the ball. We had to get the ball down the field, and the only way to do that is to pass it. So when you get down, you start passing the ball. And when you pass the ball, guess what you're not doing? You're not running the ball. This wasn't a game plan to move away from the run offense, people. It's a stupid criticism of the team right now. It was situational football is what was happening. Ren, is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yes, but you're missing the point where, because a lot of people say, well, just because, you're only down 10 points for most of the game, like, why would, you can still establish the run. But to compound that was the Saints were not going 3 and out. They weren't getting a first down and then going out. Like,
right.
They
like
were
even on the plays where they weren't scoring, they were still chewing
hanging
clock.
on to the ball. They were chewing tons of clock.
Yeah.
So as a football coach, what you do is you look up and you go, okay, let's see, we've had the ball 5 times this game already, and now we're 4 minutes left in the third quarter. I'm probably going to get the ball 2 more times, possibly 3. I need 3 scores. How do I get an extra possession? Like, it's like, if I don't score every time, how do I get an extra possession? Well, what you do is you quit running the ball.
Right.
You try to shorten the clock. You throw every time. If you complete it, great. Complete it, try to get out of bounds. Incomplete, hey, the clock stops.
Yeah.
That extends the time of the game. And that's the I think the main reason why. Yes, you're behind, and of course you have to throw from behind, but really it's because the defense couldn't get off the field and give us the ball back in a timely manner.
I mean, it's in a weird way, like what it makes me think of is basketball. Like if they kept tracking basketball of the number of fouls a person got, and like you looked poorly upon a team for how many fouls they got, like when you get to the end of the game, right? Yeah. And if you're down by any amount, what do you start doing for the last 2 minutes of the game? If you're the down team, you just foul them and stop the clock, right? Like on purpose, you're just foul. It's kind of that same thing. Like, no, we're intentionally doing this. Don't penalize, and it's strategy of the game. Like, it's sound strategy. Just don't, So yeah, it's a dumb argument for me this week from fans. I get the idea. I get what you're saying. This week wasn't the week to
they didn't abandon the run. They had to abandon the run.
Yeah. That's fine.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So stop bitching about that. Go back to talking about light. It's probably the only ground you have to stand on. Or say how we need to get new owners, because we can say how we need to get new owners, but there's not an owner in this league that goes, oh, boo-hoo, the fans don't like me, so I'm going to sell my cash cow.
Yeah, right. You know what? But you know what got me a little fired up was because guess which owners had a sit down with the media, with his media, the beat reporters for their team, because the sort of the lingering questions about the quarterback and what the future of the team was, and sort of what his philosophy is as an owner.
And it was an owner?
Yeah.
Jerry Jones out of Dallas? I don't know. I have no idea. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. It was the new owners of the Panthers, the new Panther guy.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear about this.
Because they keep pressing Ron Rivera about Cam Newton. Just actually a couple days ago, Zach was telling us, a few shows ago, where Ron Rivera walked out of a podium interview because they went over Cam Newton. So what the owner did? He called all the guys, the press, and they sat down. It wasn't an interview. It was like the breakfast with the coach in Arizona at the coaches meeting. Right. Where they all sat down and started firing, and it wasn't really more of it wasn't an interview or a press conference. It was like, here's what I have to say, ask your questions. And basically, he came out and just said, like, I will not accept long-term mediocrity. I am not going to comment on Cam Newton's future until he gets fully healthy again. But obviously, ideally, it'd be great for him to come back and win a Super Bowl with the Panthers. Right. But then he also said, I think Kyle Allen's done a great job for what was asked of him as a player and the spot that he's been put in. And it just sort of, from the top, just sort of put a fan base at ease. Right. And it made me kind of feel at ease. And I don't care about the Panthers. And the Panthers have like a winning record, or they're 5-5. They're in the hunt. Like, we are not. Right. Like, everyone's going ballistic. Every podcast I heard just like, and I don't really know what it was. Like, I don't understand. I really don't understand the difference between, like, I guess because it was the first time the offense really didn't show up. Yeah. And that, like, why everyone freaked out, because the defense hasn't shown up. We just kind of accept that as fans. Like, well, you're going to have to score 40 to win. That's just the way it is. We've said that for a couple years. But then the offense has never let us down. Jameis has let us down. But,
Mhm.
you know, if it wasn't for that pick, it's not like they stopped us. You know, it's not like any of them had stopped us all year.
Mhm.
But the Saints stopped us.
Yeah.
You know, and now everyone's just like, I don't want to spend any money. I give up on this team. You know, blow it
Yeah.
up. The owners stink.
Yeah.
The coaches don't care. You know, they're not trying hard enough. They're just mailing it in. You know, and the GM doesn't know what he's doing, and it's just the new finger to point, because in every other job and aspect in life, when something goes wrong, you identify it and you place blame.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily get fixed. You try to fix it, your job or your relationship or, you know, your car or whatever. But like, something's wrong, you point a finger. You know, if more people, if it's like a group decision, everyone sort of points a finger. What do you think? Yep. Okay. Sorry, Bobby. You know, you're the problem.
Right.
We need you to do this and this, and if not, we're going to have another conversation. But we don't get answers as fans, so we point the finger, and we have to wait a whole week to see if like anything changes.
Yeah.
And we've run through the whole gamut of stuff about whose fault it is and what's going on and what's wrong. And now when the offense fails, it now becomes the higher ups problem.
Yeah. I've decided I'm going to start blaming is Gladys. You know Gladys?
I do not.
She is the one person who has worked at One Buccaneer Place longer than Scott Smith has. She's the receptionist that sits at the front desk.
Common denominator.
Common denominator. Yep, that's who I blame.
It's Gladys.
Yeah,
it's Gladys. She doesn't say hello cheery enough. Puts everyone in a bad mood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
she makes the worst coffee in the world.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter that the players and stuff don't go in through the front door. You know, they go through the back, but you know, it's still her fault. It is
her fault.
It's all her fault.
Yeah, it's the culture. It's the culture she's permeated throughout the building.
There you go.
She's brought it over from the brick and mortar.
There you go.
The little cinder block $1 by the airport.
There you go. Hey, let's do this and let's wrap this conversation around to this. And we'll get out of here with this. Was this defeat by the Saints as bad as we feel like it was?
No.
Explain. Like boil it down for me. Explain to me why, you know, it just feels way worse than it really was.
Because the offense didn't show up. Because it felt like we were. This was the first game that we played that we felt like, as a fan base, we were just completely outclassed.
Right.
You know, like, we're not as good as this team, and they proved it to us. Mm-hmm. I mean, they quit trying to score. The
Saints did.
And they're like, yeah, the Saints did. They quit trying to score. Like, oh, we're up 10. We're going to pooch punt it and make you go, 92 yards.
Right.
And score twice, and you're not going to do it because you're not. And we didn't. And they ran the ball whenever they wanted. They threw the ball whenever they wanted. Right. Their defense,
that might be it, though.
The defensive pressure was all over us. James had nowhere to go, even though he was sacked twice and always hit 12. But I mean, he had to run out of there a lot too. And I still don't understand the pocket. That's going to be my new question. I got to have someone figure out for me. I need someone in the building to ask somebody why that is, because I watch other football games and I watch Drew Brees, and yes, they get sacked, and yes, there's bad pressures, but there's, even when Jameis doesn't have pressure, there's still not a pocket, not a normal pocket. It's so tiny of a space that he needs to work in, and it's happened. It's been like that since game one.
Right.
So it's obviously something that's being coached, but he was always defensively, they kind of did whatever they want. They had players that we couldn't stop, and then pile on that they ran the ball and protected Drew Brees great without, their best interior linemen. And then they shut down our, two best receivers for, you could say the game, but definitely for the half. And the game was over at halftime. Mm-hmm. With a team as good as the Saints, with the defense as good as the Saints, the quarterback like Drew Brees, you don't come back from 20 down. You don't. Mm-hmm. And it was 20 to 7? Yeah, it was 27 at halftime. Yeah. Came in, we cut it 20-10. They went down, scored, made it 27-10. Game was over. They quit, Whatever they wanted to do, they did. Their game plan worked. Ours didn't. They didn't have their best cornerback, and the receivers still didn't show up. O.J. Howard reverted back to it. The offensive line have had 2-3 bad games in a row. You don't know about Barber or Rojo because they couldn't run the ball because the defense couldn't get off the field. It was just a bad. They beat us they beat us badly in all three phases. And then to top it off, the refs screwed us when, even though, which is the kind of the thing that we always like about Jameis, right? No matter how bad it gets, you kind of look up somewhere in the fourth quarter. It's like, Jesus, we still got a chance.
Yeah.
Like, we should not be in this game.
Right.
Like, at all. And we were there again.
Yeah.
Like, it would have been first
if,
down.
If we had had that first down, and I mean, we would be wrong to just assume because we got that first down that we would have gone and scored.
We would have made a field goal, though.
Sure, but we didn't need a field goal at that point. We needed touchdowns. You know,
we were down 10. We would have
fair enough.
One score game.
Okay,
with like
fair enough.
5 minutes to play, 6 minutes to play,
and
defense makes a stop. We get the ball.
Yeah.
We could go in. You know,
and we could steal it. You could steal this game. You could steal this game. And the freaking refs went in there and decided, no, with 5 minutes left in this game, we're going to end it now, no matter how egregious this is.
Hey, name the three biggest. You know how in hockey they do like 1 star, 2 star, 3 stars.
I have no idea. I don't watch hockey at all.
Well, at the end of the game, and I don't watch it enough to really know, but I think they go, 1 star of the game, and he sort of skates out. It's always the winning team.
Mm-hmm.
2 star, and the 3 star guy is sort of like the MVP of the game, right?
Okay.
So I would like you to pick, the top 3 playmakers. The reason you think the Saints won, top 3 people
for the Saints.
Yeah.
Okay.
The reason the Saints won, top 3 people.
Alvin Kamara. It's probably your 3-star, guy to me.
Yeah. Michael Thomas.
Yeah, thank you, Michael Thomas. I was wanting to say Thomas something, but no, it's Michael Thomas. Would it be Drew Brees? I don't know.
You're not
going to
get
Drew Brees.
You
actually, you're not asking me my opinion. You have a right or wrong list, and I'm trying to guess your list. Is that what it is?
I'm saying the third one you're not going to get because those are definitely, 2 of the 3 for sure.
Right.
But the third one, I guarantee you won't get.
Okay, just tell me.
The line judge.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
He was the third playmaker for the Saints.
Sure.
Not only was the guy who called the pass interference on Mike, he was also the guy that gave Drew Brees that first down.
Right.
As soon as Drew Brees jumped over the pile and extended it past the marker, he comes running in to spot the ball. He's not even tackled yet.
Right.
The play's not over. Like, he's running in to spot the ball because he saw the ball break the plane of the first down line.
Right. Because the first down line's the touchdown line now.
Yeah.
Forward motion?
Remember when they put it on the wrong hash?
Yeah. Yeah. Come on, guys. Yeah. And I mean, you can see it in the stadium. They did a ball here. No, way over here. Like, whoa, wait, excuse me.
They did that a couple times. Like when Taysom Hill ran for it was like third down, and he ran for it was run for a first down, and I think it was on the far side of you, about midfield, and it was real close. I'm like, God, I don't think he made that. And then the ref comes up and spots it, and he's calling for a ball. And you know how they put the foot down, like the front foot's where the ball spot. He's calling for the ball, and then he goes to look for a ball because he's like snapping his finger and looking down at his foot and holding his hand out. And then when he goes to like look for the ball, he shuffles his feet, and now they're square, like under his shoulders. And then he put the ball like on the other side of where his foot was. So it was a whole nother ball length. And then they didn't even measure.
Right.
They just went first down. And it was like, what?
Yeah.
And then the play before Drew Brees got stopped, Devin White comes in and makes a tackle in the backfield, and then they give the guy a half yard. Like, he shoots the gap, tackles the guy for a yard loss, and then when they go to mark it, he actually made it back to the line of scrimmage and a ball length. And it's like, what is going on?
Yeah. So there's those things, and it's hard. I think Scott Reynolds said it over at Pewter Report, and probably a few other people, honestly, I've heard say it. It's hard when you know that you're playing both the other team and the referees.
I don't buy that. That whole Saints apology tour stuff.
I'm not.
Unless it started after the Rams game, because the only other game they lost the week besides.
I had that same thought. Yeah.
Unless it started after the Rams game, because the refs jobbed the Saints again against the Rams on that strip sack fumble return for a touchdown. And they're like, oh, sorry, we blew it dead.
Yeah.
So maybe after that, they're like, "Look, guys,
we owe them.
The Saints don't lose another game,
right?
unless they don't score a touchdown. You know, Atlanta hasn't allowed a touchdown the past 2 games.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game.
Yeah. Did you see what Cutter said?
About not having the part where he went, yeah, you see some people you like and some people you don't.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Or no, I think he said some people you're fond of and some people you're not. I think was his actual words. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, the worst part is that 2 hours before the game when you're in the stadium. Basically, he's like, the worst part of the whole day is when you get to the stadium and before kickoff, I have to fill that 2 hours and I'm going to have to fill it with like going and talking and people coming up to me from the Buccaneers organization that I don't like.
Right.
was what he said.
Right. And you know, Cutter, I mean, he like by nature, the guy is most likely an introvert. And just everything about him says, which means he naturally hates small talk anyway, especially with people that don't fuel him and people
talk to.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just personality type. Like, and it just that whole I can absolutely see that. It goes, all right, Ren, we've kind of gone off the rails. Not off the rails. We just we're there. So you don't think the game really was as bad as everybody feels. But it was still bad.
I don't. And, it was. I said in the Instacast like we weren't competitive, and it's not exactly true. We were. Yeah. It's just that they were just a better team. Like, the defensive plan was sound. We just didn't have the players to execute it.
Yeah.
Or the experience on defense to execute it. And honestly, I don't know what happened on offense because BA in his presser on Monday, they're talking about Greg Augman. Oh man, he was so good the way he worded this question. He goes, oh, I'm not going to say it right, but he worded it so perfect. Basically what he said was, how come the Saints can get the ball to their playmakers and you can't?
Uh-huh.
Like you're trying to take Michael Thomas out of the game, right?
Right.
And you're trying to take Alvin Kamara out of the game. It didn't work, obviously.
Right.
The Saints were trying to take Mike Evans out of the game. The Saints were trying to take Chris Godwin. It worked. Like, basically like, what happened?
Mm-hmm. Is
that frustrating to you? So his answer was, and he gave an okay answer. It was kind of like, well, we had him bottled up for the most time. Kamara's biggest run, it would have been like a 4-yard gain, but he missed the tackle because he always makes the first guy miss the tackle about 87% of the time, and he went for his longest game or his longest reception. And then the Michael Thomas one, he said he blamed it. He said it wasn't on Devin, it was on Devontae. We had a mix-up, and he gets around the corner, and that was his long catch. And okay, and okay, yes, no, but those weren't their only plays of the game. Right. And still, your guys didn't show up. But he said, like, you can only cover one. Like, you can only take one guy out of the game. And he kind of, just laughed, BA laughed, like, duh. Come on, guys. But then, later on the press conference, he's like, well, we knew they were doing double-double. They were taking Mike and Chris out of the game. And it's like, wait a minute. You just said 5 minutes earlier you could only take one out. How come you can only take one out, which you can't successfully do, and they can take 2 out? It just didn't sort of add up there. But what are you going to do? But it was a good defense. To answer your question, it was a good defensive plan, and it was such a clunky game offensively. I think if the offensive line could have given Jameis any time, and I would have liked to see them use the middle of the field a lot more. BA came out today on his All Access show, and it was supposed to be a big day for the tight ends. But after O.J. Howard, I just think they didn't give him enough of a target. Right. Basically, they just blackballed him.
No, they did. Yeah.
So Cam got it all. So it would have been nice if O.J. caught that ball and they kept feeding, or maybe drop it, but not sweet Georgia Brown.
Yeah.
Curly Neal it and. And they could have gone to him because the middle of the field was open. So, it like I said, as bad as it felt like we were uncompetitive, we were right there with a first down legally with the ball with like 7-8 minutes left in the fourth quarter, about to at least put a field goal up on the board.
Which would have
to cut it down to one score.
Which would have put it in one score range, and it would have been an exciting, last half.
It would have about half the crowd. The whole crowd would have got excited.
Yeah,
but just for different reasons.
Right. Right. So, so we'll see. I mean, listen, we're in a spot now where, to be quite honest, the only thing that's going to fix this and fix us as a fan base is for the team to go back out on the field again on Sunday and perform well. And I don't know if they will. I have no inklings that they will. They might do okay. They might not. They might lose and actually have a really good game. They might.
You know where I'm back at? I'm back at
what?
Just like I was before the Cardinals game.
Which is
like, you're like, are you excited? Like at kickoff, and I'm like,
Oh yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I just in my heart of hearts, I knew that somehow, some way, Kyler Murray was going to go off, and we were going to lose the game somewhere late.
Yeah.
Either defense would stop or Jameis does something stupid.
Mm-hmm.
I just know it's going to happen. I just have to wait 3 hours to watch it happen. And it didn't. So I was just like a junkie. I was back on it, man.
Right.
I was chasing the dragon.
Well,
and then now I'm right back where I'm just like, I don't know. Like, how are they going to play against the Falcons? I don't know.
Falcons are hot right now. They've gotten hot. They've changed some stuff up. And if we could put 40 on the Falcons, or we could put 17 on the Falcons. Right. And they could put 40 on us.
And it has nothing to do with the Falcons.
No. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, man, we'll see. I mean, that's it feels like in the fandom, we're just sort of in limbo right now, and I think that's probably, I mean, this podcast, to be quite honest with you, kind of feels like a limbo podcast, I don't know that we really said much today.
Is that going to be the name of it? How low can you go?
How low can you go? Maybe. So, Ren, with that, why don't we go ahead and get out of here? Listen, folks, we'll be back in just a little bit. We've actually got our whole fan interaction segment. I don't know, Ren, if you like the new name I put to it. I called it the Inbox. It's where we get our emails, we get our iTunes reviews, we get all those sorts of things. We'll go over those. So there's actually, Bren, there's been quite a few that people have sent in here over the last little bit. So we'll get into that. That'll be coming out here within the next day or so. And then listen, guys, as Ren said, we're kind of like junkies with this whole thing, and we're going to cover the team and keep going the way that we've always done. And so that means Buck in the News comes out here at the end of the week. We've got the Instant Cast coming up on Sunday, where Ren will be live on location.
I will be
something.
On location.
We'll figure it out. We'll see what that looks like. But you guys, make sure you join us there, and we'll do it all again. And hopefully, fingers crossed, whatever little bits of remaining hope are left within the fandom, the Bucs can get something going this week. With that, Ren, why don't you tell the folks where they can find you on the internet?
Well, first off, I need everyone out there in Twitterland to send some at Brent Allen or at the Petercast and tell him what such a good job he's doing, so he can quit pouting.
Oh,
and we need to recharge his battery. He needs a bye week. He needs an extra bye week. We need the mini bye, because even when the players get a mini bye, we don't.
Mm-hmm. That's right. We didn't. We didn't.
So it's time for Brent's mini bye. So if you can send him some message on Twitter about what a great job he's doing, and what a great dad and husband he is, and how handsome he is, and how much you like his car, and you wish you were him. And envious of how high speed internet that he gets, because your internet's
it's fantastic. It's amazing. It really is. Yeah.
So there you go. So you got the high speed internet. What else you got going for you?
Me?
Yeah.
Honestly, everything that's not Bucs related is actually really good in life. It really is.
There you go. So
other
encourage
podcasting ventures
podcasting about the Bucs.
Yeah.
So he can have just the happy, perfect life.
There you go.
Anyway, best place to find me, as always, is on Twitter at Rendax, REN_DAXT. I am always down to talk Buccaneers football.
Are you really? Are you
Are
back at it now? Are you back?
No, I'm not back. I mean, a lot of people DM me, and I don't get back to them right away, and sometimes ever. But the people that I've gotten a lot of new people this year in my DMs. We have to accept the DM.
Sure.
And I always answer their question.
There you
go. And I really should sit down and sort of scroll through and see that anyone I've missed, or I'm not ignoring you. Well, I'm ignoring you, but I'm not ignoring you.
Right.
I'm just ignoring my DMs altogether, and you just happen to be lumped in with it. It's nothing personal whatsoever. If you want to know what I think,
DM me and find out what's up. Right. There you go.
Or listen to the podcast. This is what I think. This is what I think. So, yes, my apologies for not, keeping up with sliding in my DMs, because it's just been, it's been a clunky year.
Clunky is definitely the right word. With that, guys, you can find me at Brent Allen Live across all the social medias. Ren is down to talk about college football, guys. You guys shoot him DMs. And at the Pewtercast on Twitter, Facebook, email at thepewtercast@gmail.com is where you guys can get a hold of us. And I think that's going to do it for this week's Final Thought show. So, Ren, we'll sign off for now. And I'm still going to say it. Go